Hi, I'm Alison Plaut. I'm the author of the book Be More, Threads of Wisdom on the Path of Becoming. I'm excited for you to watch this launch event from the 2nd of December of 2022. We were joined by my fantastic publisher, Stephanie Larkin of Red Penguin Books, to share the upcoming publication of the book on January 25th, along with the upcoming course through Maharishi University of Enlightenment, starting on January 21st. During the book launch event, I shared at the beginning how I had read many women's empowerment books, self-help books, and how they all basically had two fundamental messages, which are very important messages for the world today. One is you're already enough, and the other is you can be anything you want to be. And I thought, I want to amplify the voice of both of those messages in the incredible authors who've created these books, but I want to add to that the element of consciousness and what I've learned from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi over 25 or 35 years of my life. So the book shares both personal stories and experiences with wise thinkers in what we're calling threads of wisdom, which are simple phrases relatable to anyone. As you'll be hearing, there are actually 3 books coming out. One is the original book, Be More. The second book is a playbook or a workbook or journal in which many of the exercises of Be More are synthesized and organized by topic. So love, happiness, success, purpose, progress, like that. And that can be done over a few weeks, a few months, or a whole year. And then the third and final book is a tabletop book, a coffee table book, which will have beautiful pictures, illustrations, stories. And then, as you'll hear in the broadcast, there's an audiobook, which hopefully will be recorded this month, so it can come out also on January 25th. I think that covers everything. I'm excited for you to see the launch. You'll immediately hear Stephanie introducing and talking about the books, and we'll share a little bit about how we met and how we went back and forth on the collaboration together. So thank you for joining us and enjoy the launch.
The audiobook, the playbook, all sorts of other good things that are coming out of it. So it has definitely started with a little bit of a seed that you and I had a conversation and it just exploded. And I was thrilled to work with you and I'm thrilled every day. And I'm so excited that starting today, the world gets to share in this.
Yes, and that was okay. That's a fun story. It was Stephanie's idea to spawn all these other books. I submitted it originally as a single hybrid book, and she accepted it originally as hybrid book. And then she came back to me and said, I want to rip up that contract. Can we make it a 3-book contract, full book? Let's just do it together. So that's the plan. Now, this is the first book, and then there will be the playbook, which is a combination journal workbook, but I wanted to call it a playbook because I thought, who wants more work? And then the third one will be a coffee table book, which will have beautiful images, inspiring stories, and quotes. So it's a way for somebody to sit down even for a few minutes and glance through a book and get some inspiration for their day.
Exactly.
So, oh yes, and the audiobook will be recording this month, so we hope it can launch.
So it went from a 1-book to a 3-book, and if we count the audiobook now, it's like a 4-book series. I'm so excited and so thrilled to meet everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Stephanie, basically you're on with my close friends and family at this point. That's who's here.
Love meeting you all. I'm such a personal person that I wish we were like all in a big room and, hugging and, having like breakfast together or whatever time of day you are, wherever you are. We're still up to breakfast here. So, but nice to meet everybody from all over.
Yeah, so yeah, you've got people you've heard about, like some of the early
I've heard about all of these people. I'm looking through the list because I have heard the names, and I've heard little tidbits and stories, and I'm so thrilled to meet everybody and to put faces with names. And if you've heard about me, now you get a face with a name. So this is all good. So great to meet you, and I'm super excited. I can't tell you how excited we all are here about publishing this book. So excited. It's a beautiful book. It's a book to be read. It's a book to be shared. It's oh my goodness, Juliana Giraldi, I see, has a picture of Mount Kalish as her icon there.
Stephanie's been seeing a lot of Mount Kailash in addition to this book where I wanted to put that. She's publishing another book on Mount Kailash right now.
Yes, we were teasing that we're going to be called the Kailash Publishers in a minute because we're having so many. The other one is more of a travel guide, not like this book, but I mean, it's a travel guide, but the person was there on pilgrimage and walked around it 5 times. So it's a different book. They're complimentary. I'm thrilled. Maybe we'll send more people there.
So yes, Stephanie, I have to share this story because everyone will appreciate it. On most of the people, at least on this call, will really appreciate. Stephanie said to me early on before she offered the 3-book contract, she goes, I've been Googling you. I've been searching everywhere about TM. I was looking for something bad, like why I shouldn't publish this book. And all I found was this incredible knowledge that we had to get out to the world. So that was Stephanie's vision to really make it happen.
Exactly. No, she's absolutely right. I did. That's very true. That when she first came to me, I was like, there's got to be some dark side to this. So before I get in too deep, let me find the dark side. And any questions I had, because there are, always those websites that want to trash everything under the sun, including, ice cream and cake. So, and I came back with any questions. Do you remember that? And you actually knew my questions before I had them. You were like, oh, I bet you saw something that said this. And I was like, how did you know?
Yes. Well, no, she had a good laugh because she asked me about Claire Hoffman's book. And I said, oh, she used to be my babysitter. and then, Dad, will you mute yourself? And then I explained to her that I didn't actually see Claire's book as negative towards TM because her final conclusion was it was a coming of age story in her complicated relationship with her own childhood. And then coming to the fact that she learned the advanced TM City program and she had her kids learn TM. So it was sort of a full circle book in the end.
Absolutely. No. And once I really read her review, I was like, wow, for someone whose title makes it sound like she's going to slam something, she definitely didn't slam it. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Did I hear that Dad's on this call too? Because I'm
Dad was laughing. Yeah, Dad, turn on your camera.
That's very funny. That's it. I get to meet everybody here all at once. This is wonderful. I keep threatening to get on a plane and fly over and meet in person, but I know your crowd is all over the place. We're probably spread across, 8 time zones right now, aren't we?
Probably more than that. I see a few people are in India, even further in Asia, and then all across Europe and all the way to the west coast of the US. So
okay.
Quite a ways.
Those West Coasters, good for you. That's super early you woke up for this.
I know. They're good friends and family.
Thank you.
Thank you all. So
thank you. Blaze, is that are you one of the West Coasters there?
And Canada. Teresa's saying Canada as well. West coast of Canada as well. Salt Spring.
Oh my goodness. Well, how west of Canada? That's Western.
I'm actually in the UK. I'm in England. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a normal time for you.
It's afternoon here. It was easy.
If you had any Hawaiians right now, it would be really rough.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, New Zealand has asked for the replay. So.
I get that, and we'll forgive them.
Well, since we get Stephanie here, I was just going to read the introduction, but maybe if anyone has any questions for Stephanie or me, we can answer some questions first, and then we can go ahead.
Oh, and then our dramatic reading. I'm all about it.
I actually did have a question. Not sure these days. Is the book going
uitermate goed uit door Godin en Cavani op de bank te houden.
Somebody needs to get muted. Let's see who that is.
Can I don't think
Blaze, you were asking? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Blaze. I muted you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Is the book going to actually be a book like the ones that are on the shelf behind you?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
It will be available in soft cover, hardcover, digital for all those people who read it on, a Kindle or an iPad or something.
Right.
Audio book with our very own author as narrator.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
all formats, yes,
And will it be available in the UK?
absolutely.
Perfect.
The UK is an easy answer. Some of you might ask, and I'd say, some places are a little rougher. The UK is easy. That's no
Okay.
problem.
Good to know. Thanks.
And Stephanie, we had a whole big group from India who was enthusiastically wanting to connect. I suggested when we're ready to launch in India, we'll have a separate launch party for them. But
We
India's
are
ready.
definitely going to have a separate launch party, and we have our separate printers and everything to make sure we get those books there. That's for sure.
Auntie Lynn, this is one of our reviewers here, Stephanie. She's got her hands up. Go ahead, Auntie Lynn.
Ah,
Lynn, you're muted.
How long have you worked in publishing? How many books a year are you involved in? It's fabulous to
These
meet
are-
you,
these
'cause
are
I'm
great
like you. I've
questions.
heard so much about you. It's so exciting.
oh, these are great questions. Actually, as a company, we've been in business for about 16 years now. We've moved into publishing from what we all originally did was digital marketing. So we expanded into publishing. We had been doing digital books, and just for Blaze, we went into print publishing because people want a real book in their hand, don't they? About 4 or 5 years ago. Before the pandemic, we were actually rather small. Pandemic led a lot of people to be writing books, that's for sure. We were publishing probably, 2 or 3 books a month. And at this point, we publish about 2 or 3 books a week on average. It's been more than that coming into the holiday season. I guess a lot of people are giving a lot of books for holiday gifts. That's for sure. I think we have 5 releases this week alone. I'm hoping in a couple of weeks it calms down because whoosh. But we're very excited about it. We're also, while we do have authors all over the world right now, we are planning an expansion specifically, excuse me, into India, because we do have such a large and active group of authors there that we're opening another imprint, especially for our authors in India, because things are very specific there. So very excited. And we'll also be offering books in India in the vernacular languages, which is something unusual for publishers in India, which I'm very excited about. But we do have authors in the UK, in the United States, all across Europe, across India. I do have a map in our office here that I could see where everybody is. Australia, New Zealand, Korea, and all over Africa. I think we have every continent represented except for Antarctica. So if any of you have a friend who is stationed in Antarctica or knows someone, please send them my way so we can make 7 continents. Thank you.
Awesome. And I have to say, I'm thrilled to hear that there's going to be an audiobook, because I'm an audiobook person. I go through 3 a week.
I am so thrilled there's going to be an audiobook. Also because I was doing audiobooks while riding my exercise bike. So it'll get me back onto my bike.
How do we order the book? Maybe that's a question for the end, but I'm wondering, for people who are in different countries where we don't have Amazon, can we order it from a real live bookstore and they can get it, or how does it work?
It'll be available in real live bookstores. We're also offering special rates for the pre-release period. And they're going to be available on the website at bemorehappy.com, and you'll be able to order them directly there. We're just getting that all squared away right now. And it's a pre-order, so it'll be officially ready on January 25th. We had the great idea, it wasn't even my idea. Our author had the great idea of sending all purchasers, since the book won't be ready till January 25th for release, that we will email you a personalized certificate of purchase so that if you're giving the book as a gift, you have something for gifting. That's also good for digital books, because it's kind of hard to give a digital book, but that's why we have personalized certificates. So if you buy your book directly from the website, you'll be receiving a certificate as well, which you can tell us if it's a gift for someone or you're gifting yourself. And it's the best gift I could think of for yourself. That's for sure.
And yeah, and I started having ideas about, in terms of gifting, I've seen other book launches and I thought, for making an impact, gifting not only to a friend or a loved one, but giving to like your local political representative, your mayor or your senator, and creating an impact in that way as well. And I was even thinking we could make like a map and we can map out which states have already had the book sent to them.
Oh,
So
I love that. I
wanted to
love the
do that,
political
yeah.
impact. Wow.
So is it
Yes.
possible we go to the Be More website and we can order and like, I'm just thinking, I'm in Europe, but I have people that I want to send the book to in the US. So before I order it to myself and then take it to the post office and mail it, can I just send it to them directly from the website?
You certainly can. Because we have people all over the place. I was actually setting up the website that you're going to not really pay until we see what your address is, because shipping is just quite a thing, going all over. And there was really no way of automatically just saying, oh, is that where the book is going? So yes, even if you live in Europe and you wanted to send one to the US, you're not really sending one overseas. It'll be printed here to be able to send out. So it'll be a lot
Stephanie's
easier.
organizing that if you want to send a signed copy, she'll have a stack of them in her office and she can send them out from there.
Well, I'm going to have to fly over and get you to sign them, and then we'll fly back.
We're working on the details.
We're working on the details with that as well. But yes, you'll be able to go to the website. We're getting that all squared away. So you could say, I'd like, 3 signed copies to go to Iowa, even though I'm living in Belgium. And this way it's not like some crazy shipping a Belgium thing. It really works out well, since I happen to be in New York and you're over in Europe. We can actually, get things shipped from both ends, which is nice.
Stephanie Channing was another one of the early reviewers who's been giving me
feedback. Thank you. Thank you to all of the early reviewers. We could not have done it without you. Honestly, every time I heard that somebody else was reading the book and coming with feedback, that is huge. You have no idea what a gift you are to this entire process, and what a difference you've made in the book, the quality of the book, the insights that you brought. Thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Me too. It's really fun. And I mention all the early reviewers in the beginning because you all made me think and play with it over and over again. And we're still doing that. So thank you for that.
Well, I'm seeing some fabulous questions in the chat too, especially for our author. So
okay, let's see what we've got here. What was your hi Loretta? What was your inspiration for the title Be More? That's a great question. We had so many titles. I think the original title was, it was Lotus Petals Unfolding was my original working title.
That was one of the titles.
And that one was, I realized, was something Maharshi had said to me. So it was personally significant, but I realized after a while that it didn't really mean very much to anyone else. So it wasn't a very good book title. And then we brainstormed a whole list of them. I don't actually remember them all now. One was, Is This It? Another one was Be More. And basically we were looking for something that was concise and catchy, that would have relevance to people, and at the same time could encapsulate an idea. I think it was partially also we were looking at other book titles and they weren't long and rambly, which was my tendency, was to, add a title with 20 words. It's like, no, get something small and concise that people can remember and grab onto. And in the end, I liked Be More because it had 2 ideas in it, in 2 words. Sure. One is the idea of be, or being, and the idea of developing your full potential of consciousness. So rather than, like, I was thinking Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, it's not that you have to become, it's that you already are being, you already are complete. And at the same time, it's more because it plays on the idea that everyone is always looking for more and more, whether that's more health, whether that's more happiness, more success, more love. People, even if they're fulfilled, they want more. We all do. And so it was that idea that wherever someone is in their lives, they can be looking for more, and this is some practical steps to achieve it.
Right.
Somebody called Brahmananda Saraswati sent a very nice message. Okay. Jager Dev Brahmananda Saraswati. I don't know who you are, but maybe you can tell me that later. And then Teresa, was Teresa the next one? Yeah. So hi, Teresa. The experience of writing the book. Writing the book was so much fun. I joked that it was like my own therapy because every time I wrote it, I came away so happy. I was like, ooh, that made me feel really good. So the book itself, I wrote it in chunks, maybe a half an hour or an hour a day initially. And I noticed that there were certain themes I repeated over and over and over again. So in the editing process, it took some cutting down. I even sometimes wrote the same story just slightly differently a few times. But it was really wonderful to do it. And how I started out, it was sort of layers. How I started out I called it threads of wisdom because I was using the concept of a sutra, basically. Like if I were to encapsulate the essence of what I learned from Maharishi, how would I say it in, words that are relatable to other people? And so the threads came from that. I came up with the threads first. And then I started adding quotes from Rumi and Tagore and Mirabai and these various great thinkers because I felt like they expressed in such a timeless way what I was trying to say in Maharishi's knowledge. So that was layer 2. And then I explained the threads from sort of my experience in the perspective of Vedic science. And then I went back and added stories from other ancient traditions and world traditions. So there's a story of Milarepa, who's the great Tibetan monk in Kailas. And then there's Arundhati, who's a great female rishi from ancient India. And there's a story about a Kogi medicine woman, ancient Aboriginal healers. And so there's all these different stories that I sort of intermingled with the threads to make it relevant. And at the same time, then I kept adding stories about my own experience. And it started with just a few, and then I kept adding more and more. So every chapter basically has some story from my own experience, some story from some ancient tradition, a few Vedic expressions, a few quotes from wise thinkers, and it's sort of all interwoven in one theme. So I feel like that's a lot. Is that enough, or do you want something more? Teresa, did that answer the question?
Yes, it does, darling. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you.
Aww.
Way to go. And I'm glad. Stephanie, how did you find her?
That was, I talk a lot in the book about supportive nature. Stephanie was supportive nature. I Googled hybrid book publishers and she came up first, and I submitted to her and she said yes.
I was waiting to hear the answer to that question too, because I was wondering how she found me.
That was it. And
just manifestation. So
I've been explaining to Stephanie about Jyotish and Yagya and Muhurtas, and I submitted it to Stephanie on Akshaya Tritiya. She said yes on Ganga Dushara. So we've been having this sort of rolling Muhurtas going along.
Oh, wow. Listen to that. Loving all that.
And I'll say that the hardest part of the book was editing because I realized how many typos I was still editing last week. We're still editing now.
We're still editing. What
about this? Does this really make sense? Because once you see it in print, you want it to be in a way that is really relatable, and you get into the reader's mind and think, does that really make sense? So we're still editing, but it's fun.
And I warned, because we're about to start recording the audio book, that there is nothing like reading a book out loud to find all the things you want to change about it.
So yeah, so that what I will say that it was an unexpected blessing for me, even as I was editing last week. There's just little bits that I read that just makes me feel uplifted and happy for the day. And so that's my real sankalpa for the readers, is that when they read it, they feel some bliss, some happiness, some upliftment in their day. And of course that it somebody's not muted. There we go. That they feel more upliftment and happiness. Of course, that it inspires them to learn TM and the advanced programs and ideally create groups. But also, even if they take a little step, whatever that first little step is, that they feel better in their day, in their week, and that it brings a little more happiness to their family life and inspiration and upliftment for their day-to-day. Blaze has her hand up.
Oh, great. Would you be prepared to read us a bit of your book?
Absolutely.
Good.
I'm
Let's
so
hear
glad
some.
you asked. Let me see if I can.
I used to work in a bookshop in Aspen, Colorado, and we often had authors come for book launches. So I'm used to having the book launch, and it was lovely always to hear them just read a little snippet of their book.
Oh, so I actually asked Channing what she suggested reading, and I'm going to use the section she suggested, or I can read the introduction, or we can do both. Let's see if I can get it. So I'll read this section first, which is a section. I'm actually, oh, it's in thread 7. So here, let's see if we can share for you. Thread 7 was, it's my ongoing joke with Stephanie that I can never remember what number each thread is because we've changed the order so many times. So thread 7 is what you put your attention on grows stronger in your life. There we go. So here, let me get it up. Make it bigger so I can see it. There we go. So it starts out with a quote, which will be familiar to many of you from the Rig Veda, that's also the introduction to several Upanishads. Badran karne bishrinu yamadeva, badran pashye maksharabir yajatra. All good I should see from the ears, all good I should see through the eyes. And then it goes into the book. It says, let's make it a little bigger. It says, this invocation is not a prayer that all should be perfect, but that we find the good or the beautiful in all that we see, hear, and perceive. This is the essence of what you put your attention on grows stronger. Seeing, hearing, and perceiving all good reduces pinches and frictions in the heart, unfolding a sense of freedom. Seeing only good, we free ourselves from the need to correct or do something. If we see problems, there's a sense of responsibility to change the problem. If we see good, we create happiness and freedom for ourselves. But it is not just seeing good. This thread, in some cases, can also be what you see, you become. Attention is a powerful tool, not to be underestimated. Attention is the time we give to feed our minds, our hearts, and our souls. Attention brings everything to life around us. Have you ever kissed a child's scraped knee and they say it is all better? The scrape is still there, but the loving attention has made it better. In an innocent child's eyes, a kiss on a scraped knee can make it all better. Why not for adults too? With attention alone, we can transform our lives. When we practice piano every day for years, the connections in the brain and the ability to play grows immensely. That is a simple, focused attention that we can use to structure our lives. But much of the attention and the direction we give it is based on the environment or subconscious focus. This current of focus and attention builds who we are now into who we can become. We've all seen graphs that show an iceberg as an analogy for success. What you see above the water, the success, is a tiny portion of the iceberg. What goes on behind the scenes, below the water, is the real iceberg. In success, this includes hard work, connections, persistence, failure, and luck. But there is one missing ingredient: attention. The ability to use attention is to free ourselves from expectations of what we have to be or when we have to achieve it, and simply, consciously show up for ourselves. Attention is a process of observing where you are at this moment and where you would like to be. Attention is like watering the flowers of your potential and bringing new life to blossom. And it goes on, attention can look different for each person. Some may prefer visualization, seeing what they want to achieve each day. Others may prefer lists, selecting a few achievable goals. Still others find vision boards, journaling, or some other strategy. Whatever strategy you choose, the key is in what we can control, what we can do from our side through attention. And then it goes on to say, the process of attention is also a process of letting go of expectations and preconceived ideas. In letting go of limiting beliefs, actions, and anything else that is holding you back from your goals, and allowing the process of attention to transform you. Through attention, you are showing up for yourself in a process of continual rebirth. Maharishi has said that the process of evolution is a process of giving up what we are for what we can become. What we can become is infinitely more beautiful, more powerful, and happier than we can ever imagine now. And then the book goes on to give the analogy of the man in the hut, which probably most of you are very familiar with. And it concludes, we'll echo that same sentiment. In various ways, at various times, the man in the hut is all of us. We become so comfortable with our own attachments and boundaries that we forget we have unbounded potential. We put ourselves into boxes of what we think we are good at, what we think we deserve, instead of remembering all that we can become. That is why Maharishi says that we have to be ready to sacrifice at any moment who we are for who we can become. We must be ready to go beyond ourselves to find ourselves. So that is an excerpt.
You. Well, hearing that, I'm super excited about the audiobook, that's for sure.
I would say the same. Your voice is so soothing and nice.
Well, I was editing as I was reading, so it's
I told you would do that. I told you would do
So
that.
that's a glimpse. Maybe what I can do is I'll share this screen for a minute and show you all the table of contents just to give you a flavor of the threads. Let's see if we get to them first. Share screen. Where is it? There it is. Okay, I think you should be able to see this. So this is the dedication, which is also being edited a little bit, but the first part to Guru Dev and my master Maharishi for the wisdom of the fullness of life and the path to achieve it. The knowledge of this book comes from Maharishi, whose goal was to bring happiness and enlightenment to every individual and peace to the whole world. And to the seekers of something more, as we all join hands to be more each day. So then you can see the contents. There's the introduction. I talk about Mother Divine, the Ideal Girls School. I talk briefly about Mother Divine, the Ideal Girls School, growing up in Fairfield, my first experience of something so much bigger than myself when I learned pranayam when I was 9, even before I learned TM. And then I talk about why we were doing threads, and then we go into the threads. And the first one is always keep learning. And this here is a story from Maharishi School. That's a quote from Maharishi, which says, "In their intelligence will shine the world's most perfect wisdom." And then the next thread is anything is possible. And we talk a little bit about the brain and how neuroplasticity, basically, but then how we can actually use moments of the day to make anything possible. And Tirupati is a story about starting to teach TM in Tirupati, which is a very holy pilgrimage site in India, and the strong experience I had at the temple there, which I was not expecting. And then happiness is the basis of success. Talk about karma, never judge, everything can be right or wrong. And in this one, we talk about love, we talk about how everything's relative and we're all on our own unique path. And so you can see the same view from a completely different perspective, and it doesn't mean that either is wrong. And in that story, we talk about Milarepa, who was the great saint who was famous for before becoming enlightened. He did a lot of black magic and harmed a lot of people, and then he had this life transformation. So the idea is that wherever we are at any moment, we can transform and become our full potential. And then woman is divine, and we talk about how different cultures around the world honor women and the power of women. And I address a little bit in that chapter how much the women's empowerment movement on the surface needs to continue, but how much we also need to find the depth of consciousness and the power that's already latent within us. And then there's 3 threads of love in the book. The first is the answer to love is to love more. And that one talks about Arundhati, who's known as the supreme embodiment of love, divine love in the Vedic tradition. And then what you put your attention on grows stronger. That's the excerpt we just heard. And then think big. And so we talk about the concept of really, truly thinking big. And there's a story of St. Francis of Assisi in there, because he had this incredible experience that led him to become a saint and transform the Catholic Church. And it was on the basis of seeing that what he thought of it was so much bigger, and it was all supreme love. He talked about it in terms of being poor, but what he meant by poor was without any attachments to small, so he could be unbounded. And then what you put out comes back to you. So this idea again of karma, but in terms of we can only control what we put out. And then don't be a football of situations and circumstances. Many are, of course, very familiar with that. And that one has the story from the Aborigines of Australia. Just Let Go is, in a way, one of my favorite chapters, because it's the idea of, after talking about karma or happiness or this and that in the end, it's the process of surrender, of letting go, that allows nature to take over and bring the best to us. And then start where you are, but believe in the goal. And that has the seagull story. So the idea of just doing a small action, but eventually it can lead to big results. Love is the best gift. Become a successful traveler of life. Talk about even how outward changing directions and stirring the warm bath can create new perspectives and possibilities. And then failing leads to greater strength. While I think probably that thread title is not one Maharshi would say directly, it has been very much my experience that we think, when we think of the path of perfection, we think it's all perfection, but then we realize that it's ups and downs and rounds, and it's all a part of the path. And then life is in moments, not in days. And then another favorite, you already know the answer, so this one is talking a lot about intuition and the ability to fulfill desires. And finally, the cherry on top, even the hardest rocks melt with love. And it talks about divine love and stories of divine love from the Vedic literature. And you see here also Miracles in Colombia that talks about Father Gabriel Mejia and the power of creating groups to transform society. So that is a glimpse of the chapters. And let's see, are there any more questions? Otherwise, I think we've done it. It's launched.
Ellie?
Yes. Oh, Meg.
Hi.
Wait, I have to introduce you to Stephanie because you're in the book.
Oh.
This is Meg, who was the principal of the Ideal Girls School, who sent the letter to Maharshi that's in the introduction.
Wow! Oh my gosh! So nice to meet you. Mind blowing. Thank you. I'm delighted.
You can so nice. So nice to meet you too. And I followed this whole journey, and I can see how I'm not surprised that it took a few years to really manifest and refine the book, because it just incorporates every aspect of this journey. It's really beautiful. I'm just going to read out, because I'm also involved in this next step, Colleen Chatterton's question. Can you say a little bit more about kind of a fifth version of this book in from the form of the enrichment course through Maharshi University of Enlightenment that you'll be offering?
Yes. Are you going to answer that, Meg, or am I?
You're going to answer it.
So Meg is also the president of Maharshi University of Enlightenment, where we'll be offering a course starting, I think, on January 21st, which is 4 days before the book is actually officially available. So everyone on the course will get a sneak peek, because we'll give you a chapter that we'll start working on. And what we thought to do for the course was to take the first 6 threads, so that there could be a second and third course if we want, and we would focus on one thread each week. What I haven't shown you yet is that at the end of every chapter, there's quite a few action steps, and they're journaling prompts or prompts of something you can do in your activity. And what we'll do each week with the Maharshi University of Enlightenment enrichment course is we'll read the chapter together, and we'll have a discussion on points of knowledge. And we really want to make it lively because I didn't see this book as just my experience. I wrote it from my experience, but I see it as a reflection of everyone's experience. And everyone will take their own angle and their unique perspective. And then we'll do some of the exercises at the end together. Like one of the exercises I thought I would share, I promised I'd share exercises. So one of the exercises I thought I would share today was an exercise to think of some situation where something didn't go the way you wanted it to. This is like the failing leads to greater strength thread. Think of something where it didn't work out, and then to think of 10 good things that came out of that. So 10 reasons why, even though in that moment it looked like it was bad, so many better things came out of it. And it's one of those things that when you think about it at first, you go, wait, I don't know. But once you start thinking, there's so many different, sometimes very small, but sometimes big also, good that came out of it. And so it also relates to the idea of what you put your attention on to grow stronger, and putting your attention on the positive. So that will be offered. It'll be a 6-week course. I believe we've settled on an hour and a half each session, and it'll be on Saturday afternoons in the US, so Saturday evening in Europe. And we'll probably have a separate one for New Zealand at some point, so that we can discuss the knowledge together. And the idea will be to make it very lively and interactive, and we'll encourage everyone to bring their own ideas and perspectives on it, so we can really sort of churn the knowledge together and make it really a living reality for all of us. I see there's some more comments. Let me see if there.
And do you know when that course will be started?
Yes, that starts on January 21st. So that's what I was saying, 4 days before the book is actually officially launched. So everyone will get a pre-chapter who's joining that course. So thank you all for coming, and it's launching now. I hope, my desire is that it reaches millions of people and brings good to their lives, and that in that way it becomes a wave of transformation. Channing is raising her hand. Go ahead, Channing.
Yes, I have a question. I'm on the website.
Uh-oh.
Your website.
The website made it live a few hours ago.
Okay. And I just want to make sure. So on the ordering online, it looks like we can just order, and then we put our name, and just, is it in the comment section? We say how many we want to order, and then no payment is made until you figure out where the shipping is going to, because then shipping costs will be added.
Exactly. The digital books can be paid immediately because there's no shipping. It's a download that we'll be sending out. For the print books, there's a message section so that if you wanted multiple copies, you could put that right there, and it'll be invoiced once we see where they're going.
Okay, so that's like all we have to do to pre-order.
Absolutely. And I see some pre-orders have already come through. There's another form also, if, as I said, if you are sending a certificate of purchase for gifting purposes, there are blanks there for you to write who it's going to as well.
Can I put the link here in the chat?
Website address in the chat, please.
I can do
Sure.
it.
I'll do it right
Yes.
here.
Oh, I made a slide, but it's more convenient.
.com.
Oh,
There we go.
And I was thrilled with this website. We got this website, bemorehappy.com, because we thought it would be a wonderful platform for marketing TM programs as well, because it's easy to remember and catchy.
Absolutely. But I could see already orders coming in. So you've already sold your first.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. It's a joy to connect and to see your faces and to think together, and we'll be looking forward to sharing more. I thought in the next month we could do a few more book readings of sections of the book, and maybe even some exercises together to give extra samples of the MUE course and the book itself. The other thing I wanted to say is writing the book made me think how much I would love to read a book from every one of you, that there's so much experience, so much knowledge that everyone has gained, and to have that unique filter of, every individual physiology, individual experience. Oh, and thank you for coming and for your support. And that was my other thought, was that Maharshi's knowledge is so profound and so immediately practical, and there's millions of books in the world and only a handful on his knowledge from any perspective, that the more we can have out there that people read and resonate with their own experience, and from people who look like them or their age or sound like them, is the better. So that was one of my ideas as well. And we'll be publishing
And
eventually in Brazil and Latin America and all over. And we hope that in every country where it's published, it sends millions of people to learn TM and to advance courses and to all of your centers.
Terrific question there in the chat about plans to translate the book into other languages. That's definitely something we can have a conversation about. Absolutely.
There's not specific plans, but we are planning on it. Jay Gudev, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. And thank you for what you put into the world and the bliss of more and happiness and goodness and kindness that you all do put into the world every day, because it brings so much good. And thank you to Stephanie for being here with us, because it made it so much better, and for her.
My pleasure. I'm so thrilled.
Incredible support since the beginning. Stephanie made me think that if there were more people in the world like Stephanie, there would be such incredible receptivity for knowledge, because she's just been so enthusiastic and supportive at every stage.
I'm just so thrilled that this is finally coming to the world, because that's where it belongs, to be read and enjoyed, and for people to, like you said, enjoy the bliss.
So thank you all, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev.